Fortum India recently launched 2 electric vehicle charging stations at Indian Oil outlets for the general public in Hyderabad. Today, we have with us Mr. Awadhesh Kumar Jha, VP Charge, Drive and Sustainability, Fortum India. In an exclusive interview, he shared more about the 2 charging stations, offer, plans of the company, future of AC and DC charging station, policy requirements and more. He also answered some questions from our readers and listeners. Here is the excerpt.
First of all, congratulations on your recent installation of EV charging station in Hyderabad.
Thank you.
Can you please tell our readers about the 2 charging stations that you have installed?
Well, the 2 charging stations which we have installed in Hyderabad, this has been installed at the Indian Oil Company retail outlet, one in Begumpet area and another is in Raj Bhavan Road. And these 2 charging stations are equipped for charging 2 electric vehicles at one point of time. So it has a 2 gun attached to one charging station. And this is of DC fast charger of 20 kilowatts. So 2 vehicles of Indian manufacturers like Mahindra or the Tata, they can go and they can get charged. What we have also decided that as a promotional scheme for next 1 month, that is till 15th of August, any AV user can go to the charging stations of ours in Hyderabad and they will get free charging done till 15th of August. Only thing which they'll have to do, they will have to download Fortum Charge and Drive India app. It is available on Apple Store or Google Play Store. And they will have to register with us by providing their email ID and they will be creating their own password. And they will have to register their credit card or debit card details because that is the payment mode which we are currently supporting. But no payment would be deducted for this charging till 15th of August. So this is which we believe, because this is a new technology, customer needs to know these systems, they need to know how to use these chargers. So as a part of that, we have introduced this promotional scheme for the EV user in Hyderabad.
How many charging stations do you plan to install in Hyderabad alone? And when do you plan to install more charging stations in Delhi and Mumbai? The pollution is a major issue and the requirement of EV and charging stations are quite high.
Good. So this is a good question. As far as Delhi and Mumbai is concerned, yes, pollution is, I would say, quite high, particularly in Delhi, which happens to be one of the top 10 most polluted cities in the world. Coming back to Hyderabad, we have planned to set up around 200 charging points, depending upon the need of the electric vehicle. This year, we are planning to put up at least 10 to 20 charging stations, meaning thereby around 40 to 50 charging points at different locations in Hyderabad. So, going forward in next 12 months to 18 months, we are planning to have 100 to around 200 charging points in Hyderabad. That will be a combination of DC fast charger as well as AC charger. When we come back to Delhi and Mumbai, so Delhi Delhi is on our radar and Mumbai is also on the radar. In fact, apart from Delhi and Mumbai, we are targeting Bangalore, we are targeting Chandigarh, we are targeting Nagpur, we are targeting Ahmedabad, and we are also targeting Kolkata. So these are the cities apart from Delhi and Mumbai, which we are currently planning. I will not be in a position to give you when, because there are a number of factors which require to be in place to be able for us to put up the charging station. But we expect that in this year in Delhi we would have a reasonable number of charging stations.
And when we look at the future of charging infrastructure, does AC have the future or do you think the future is of DC?
Okay, this is very interesting question. To understand this, we need to reflect on what kind of battery technology we have currently. So if you take the global example, currently, except China, across the globe, The AC charging is the dominant form of charging, and the DC charging is mostly along the highway. But when we come to India, I believe it would be more a DC charging than a AC charging in the public locations like the petrol stations and the highways. But in the shopping malls, in the office complexes, it will be AC. To understand that whether the AC will have the dominance or the DC, we need to differentiate between the type of the vehicle. So I'd like to give an example. So the current vehicle which is available in Indian market on the electric vehicle segment, they are the low voltage vehicles. They are operating on the less than 100 volt battery system. Now that requires a longer time for charging even on the DC charging. So as for example, the charger which we have deployed, that can, the vehicle would be charged in 1 hour to 1.5 hours. Now that is the fast charging capability. But once we have a high voltage vehicle like Nissan Leaf or BMW or any other high variant car, they would be requiring, they have a high voltage system which they can absorb. They would be getting charged on the DC fast in less than half an hour for the 80% of the capacity. Now in that situation, their onboard charger will also be of higher capacity. So the AC charging will also be relatively faster. And as you might be knowing, Fortum has installed 2 AC chargers of type 2 in Delhi of 22 kilowatts, where if the vehicle is having a sufficient onboard charger, it can charge in 3 hours to 4 hours. So it all depends upon the vehicle, what kind of vehicles are introduced in India. Depending on that, the market will decide whether it will be a DC dominance or a AC dominance.
So currently it's the AC which is dominating.
Globally, it is the AC which is occupying the larger space than the DC, because the DC charger is very capital intensive, and unless the vehicle demand is such that you require a large number of DC. There is DC charger will not be catering to the maximum number of cars, because people would prefer to charge at home or at the workplace or at the shopping mall where they spend 3 hours or 4 hours. So there it can be done on the AC mode.
What type of policy support do you think are needed to create the ecosystem for electric cars?
So, first of all, there are a couple of things which is required from the government side. One, the government has rightly addressed, that is treating the electricity, the charging station not as a sale of electricity, rather as a service. So that is I would say, the most important policy support which the government has provided already for the proliferation of the charging infrastructure. Now, the second most important part which is required from the government side is the availability of the space. If you, like city like Delhi, Mumbai, it's quite congested and we are short of space. Incidentally, most of the parking space are owned by the government-owned agencies, be it the municipal parking or be it the other government departments, like the PWD is having access to so many lands. So all these locations offer a good site for placing the charging station. So government can do one thing, that they can earmark certain percentage of these public parking slots for putting up the electric vehicle charging stations. If the government can come out with some policy of allocations, that how they can allocate to the different charging infrastructure players, irrespective of whether they are from the private sector or they are from the government sector. If we get access to the public parking space, we can roll out the charging infrastructure quite quickly, and that will help OEMs to roll out their model quite fast. So I think the next best support which government can give is allocate the parking space to the intending charging infrastructure operator. And this I would rate this is more important even than the subsidy for creating the charging infrastructure. If you provide the space, that would be a great support for proliferation of the charging infrastructure.
How is the market for charging stations currently?
See, I would say Indian entrepreneurs are quite agile, and they are very, adept in adjusting to the demand of the market. As we have been, operating in the globe, we are not, aligned to one particular hardware. We are a hardware agnostic. And so what we require is that a manufacturer who is willing to provide a smart charger, which is an IP-based charger, which can communicate remotely with the system, and they are ready to manufacture, the chargers with the payment functionalities and the other automated process. Those chargers will be ultimately surviving the competition. If we are putting up only the chargers which doesn't communicate with the remote servers, in the digital time where we are living in today, those chargers will not survive. So I would say India is a huge market where even if we convert 30% of our annual sales, as the government is intending by 2030, this would offer a huge amount of opportunity for different charging manufacturers and player like us, who wants to install the different chargers made by different manufacturers to create the interoperable infrastructure. So I would say the market is quite good. It's the initial days, but it will pick up very soon once more and more electric vehicle models are rolled out by the OEM.
And Awadhesh, we got two people, one from UP, Mr. Rajiv Shukla. So one question for you. Are all the charging stations installed by Fortum solar powered? And what is the cost of the charging an EV for an hour? All the charging stations installed by Fortum are solar powered or not?
Okay, so currently the charging station which we have installed, currently we are drawing the power from the grid. And since we are drawing the power from the grid, so we cannot claim that this is solar powered charging station. But since we are ourselves as a solar power plant operator, we have a long-term plan to integrate the solar power with the charging station. And we are drawing our example from our Nordic example. In Nordic, we are assigning particular charging stations to a renewable category. So you will find, if you happen to be in Finland and Norway, you will find a particular charger is driven by a power drawn from wind, energy. So we have a plan to have the same thing in India as well, but this is not immediately. But right now the charging station is without the solar power.
And there's another question from Brajesh Goyal, Gujarat, Acto Infotech. His company name is Acto Infotech. We want to know how government is helping startups or newcomers in the electric vehicle manufacturing and EV charging manufacturing stations.
I know this is a question which I will not be able to answer because this is something to do with the manufacturing and then what the government is providing the support in terms of to the manufacturer.
Okay.
So I am not very thorough with policy. But as far as charging infrastructure is concerned, I clearly see the role of a startup is quite interesting because everything has to be done on the digital space. All the operations have to be done remotely, and then the charging network has to be managed remotely. So, a startup has an important role to play, and I'm sure within the startup policy of Government of India, the startup for the electric vehicle will also be covered in the same policy. So, I think overall the Government of India has put a framework for the startup as well, and one who wants to venture into this area. They can probably drop, reference from there. Though I am not aware that what those policies contain. So I think I will not be able to.
But there is a broad future for startups in India, specifically those are coming into the electric vehicle charging station and all.
Definitely, especially on the service side, there would be a lot of digital platforms which will be requiring as we grow. Right. And as this artificial intelligence is now gaining ground, So those things will offer a lot of space, a lot of opportunities for the startup to come up with different solutions, which we as an operator, we can use for managing our charging station.
Thank you, Mr. Awadhesh, for giving your time.